Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today it is time to look at the top 10 cards from the recently released Ultra Prism expansion. Two things to note before we begin. Number one, this is a great expansion. It's really, really good. There's a lot of good cards. This was not easy. Number two, I know I usually do these on the day the set is released, but what am I going to do? The whole bunch of leaks of great cards the day the set was released. There's nothing I can do about that. Starting off with some honourable mentions, and some of these are really good. The new Persimmon. Now, this Persimmon's got an ability that says if this is on the bench, your active Persimmons do 30 more to your opponent's active evolution Pokemon. So not to basics, only to evolved. Now, of course, you add this in with the fairly good Persimmon from Sun and Moon, which has seen quite a bit of play, doing 10 damage plus 30 more for each Persimmon on your bench for a double colourless energy. And obviously, you can see this adds up pretty quickly. Also, an honourable mention for Tapu Lele, and the reason I'm putting this as an honourable mention is because we really should have had the Psychic Tapu Lele by now. Magical Swap, it's going to be a promo card. 2 energy, move damage counters around your opponent's Pokemon, it's going to be great. The Psychic one gets to use Dimension Valley in Expanded, whereas the Fairy one works nicely with Gardevoir in Standard or Expanded. Both of them work with counter energy, it's going to be a great card, but I left it off the list because it really is a Psychic promo first. Magearna came very, very close. Great ability that allows you to pick up a tool attached to one of your Pokemon. It means that you can swap a Fighting Fury Belt for something like a Choice Band, which is always an excellent thing. There's just too many other good cards. And finally, Drifblim. For a double colourless energy, you get to move 4 damage counters from each of your Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. Heal your Pokemon while doing damage to them. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that does sound pretty gosh darn good to me. But again, there's just too many good cards. Coming in at number 11, I'm not doing a top 10 and you can't make me, we've got the new Weavile. For 1 Darkness Energy, 50 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon that has an ability. Zoroark's quite big. That's got an ability. Everyone's playing Tapu Lele. Octillery's seeing play in an awful lot of decks. This is a card which is sometimes going to be great. Then let's remember that we've got the Weavile from Burning Shadows that does 60 damage to each Pokemon in play that has an ability, yours and your opponent's. You've got a pair of Pokemon in the same evolution line that can cause a fair bit of damage. In at number 10, we have got Dawn Wings Necrozma. It's got Caldeo's ability. It can jump into the active. You can grab it with a turn 1 Bridget. You can free retreat with a Float Stone. I think this is a great card. Yeah, it's got the weakness to Zoroark, and that's a bit of a problem, but I think Zoroark's going to see less play in future, and even if it doesn't, just don't play it if a Zoroark's on the field. I should mention at this stage, I've done videos about all of these Pokemon. I'll put a whole bunch of links in the description. And to be honest, all these Pokemon we're looking at the moment, you could easily rearrange and I wouldn't be upset. In at number 9, we've got Luxray. But it's not really Luxray, if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I like Luxray, and I like his ability that says he takes 30 less damage, although the weakness to Buzzwole is slightly worrying. And I like the fact that it's got quite a large HP. But more so, I like the fact that Shining Celebi comes in and you can use Luxio's ability, which does 30 damage for 1 colourless energy and stops your opponent playing item cards. It's Seismitoad for 1 basic energy, but you've got to evolve, which is a little bit of a pain, but you only give up 1 prize, so it could be an awful lot worse. And I should mention at this stage, you've also got Shinx coming out in this particular set, which can evolve into Luxio straight away, even on the very first turn of the game. So that means that you've got Shinx to evolve straight up into Luxio to do this turn 1 if you're going second. Then you use Luxray to bump up your HP while taking advantage of Shining Celebi. In at number 8, we have got Dialga. Dialga is an absolutely phenomenal Pokemon. Largely here, it is because it's got a GX attack that does 150 damage while instantly giving you an extra turn. Now this goes brilliantly with the new Magnezone that allows you to attach as many metal energy as you like during your turn. The one thing that puts me off putting this too high on the list, there's a metal version of this coming in the next set, and the metal version is better than the dragon version, but honestly, this attack is amazing. And even the first attack, draw until you've got 6 cards in hand, that's pretty good if you've got nothing at the beginning of the game. This is a cool Pokemon, and I like it very much indeed. That's why I put it in at number 8. In at number 7, Leafeon-GX. Now, firstly, Leafeon here, it is pretty much about the GX attack. 1 grass energy, and do remember that you've got the Eevee from Sun and Moon, so if you go second, you attach a grass energy evolution comes in to give you that Leafeon straight away, and then you can use a GX attack right now. Evolve each of your benched basic Pokemon. It's pretty gosh darn good. People are talking about using this with Decidueye to bring that back into relevance, and I wouldn't argue with that. This is one of those cards that just opens up so many options, it's got to be on this list. And that's even before we talk about the GX attack. If it's in the active, just heal 50 damage from one of your Pokemon with energy attached. You get a Pokemon KO'd, put Leafeon in the active with a Floatstone attached, or maybe you use a Guzma and put Leafeon in the active with a Floatstone attached, do some healing, retreat, you are off and rolling and life is good. In at number 6, my boy Garchomp. For a fighting and a double colourless energy, which means you can use double colourless energy, 200 damage if you played Cynthia from your hand this turn. But given that Cynthia is a phenomenal new card, that's not a bad thing at all. Then you build in Lucario, that if you've got a Garchomp on your bench allows you to search for 1 card per turn, but that is of course 1 card per Lucario, because this ability stacks, and you've got the makings of a really, really good deck, which is actually not going to be that expensive because Garchomp came out in one of the theme decks, which also has Lucario and 2 Cynthia in it. And that's before we talk about stuff like Strong Energy and Regirock, which you can use to then do extra damage so you can basically KO anything. I adore the new Garchomp, it's phenomenal. And the last one, before we see a bit of a jump, Super Boost Energy. The only one of the Prism Stars that I'm putting on my top 10 list. Doesn't mean the others are bad, it just means that this really for me is the only one worthy. If you attach it to a Stage 2 Pokemon, and you've got 3 or more Stage 2 Pokemon in play, then it provides every type of energy but 4 at a time. If you don't, you just put it on a Stage 2 and it's like a rainbow energy that doesn't give a damage counter, which in itself is still alright. And if you attach it to a non-Stage 2, it's just a colourless energy. Yes, it's a Prism Star, so you can only play 1 in your deck, and if it gets discarded, it goes to the Lost Zone, from whence it cannot be recovered, making it very susceptible to Enhanced Hammer. But imagine this in a deck like Gardevoir, where you can attach 1 energy to a Gardevoir, and all of a sudden that's 120 damage with infinite force. This, kind of like Leafeon, is the kind of card that is going to take a whole bunch of decks and make them relevant again. That's why it gets on the list. This isn't a card for one deck. This is a phenomenal card that is going to see play in a whole bunch of decks, and it really deserves its spot at number 5. And this is where I've drawn a bit of a line. Everything from 6 down to 11, I would not be at all upset if you mixed them all around. Whereas the top 4, I really do feel like these are the 4 best cards in Ultra Prism and are a little bit of a cut above. Coming in at number 4, Empoleon. I adore Empoleon, just generally, but in this particular set, I think it's amazing. 20 damage for each bench Pokemon on both players' side of the field, that's great. It can one-hit KO a Zoroark, but Zoroark will not one-hit it back, and Zoroark is going to be trying to build up its bench to do more damage. In the expanded format, you bring in a bit of the old Skyfield and you go absolutely nuts. And as for the 2 energy cost, if you're not behind on prizes, use Aqua Patch to get the 2nd energy. If you are behind on prizes, use Counter Energy to provide both the energy. It's phenomenal. It is absolutely great. And to be honest, I've put it at number 4. I would not be sad if you put it at number 1. The more I look at this list, the more I get sad I've put Empoleon at number 4. But it's done and I'm sticking with it. In at number 3, I am cheating. It's Magnezone and it's DUSK main NECROZMA. What do these have in common? Well, Magnezone allows you to attach as metal energy as you like during your turn. And DUSK main NECROZMA comes along, and for 4 energy it does 220 while discarding 3. And then you reattach them with Magnezone and you're off. Oh yeah, and we're also getting Mount Coronet in this set, which allows you to take 2 metal energy from your discard during your turn and put them into your hand. These 3 cards together, I strongly believe, are going to make one of the dominant decks over the next couple of years. That's why I'm putting it in at number 3. And yeah, it's only in at number 3. In at number 2, we've got Glaceon-GX. Now, this might prove to be a little high, but I'm putting Glaceon-GX in at number 2 because it's got the ability to just absolutely wreck games. While it's in the active, your opponent's EXs and GXs have no abilities, unless they've got a Glaceon which does have its ability, which turns all yours off except for Glaceon. There we go. This is nuts. Now, firstly, you've got stuff like Zoroark that really relies on ability, so Glaceon's great, especially since Zoroark decks tend to play fewer supporters, meaning turning off trade really hurts them. But also, you've got this Energy Evolution Eevee from Sun and Moon. You go first, you attach a water energy to evolve Eevee, and then your opponent has no EX or GX abilities for the entire game. So they don't get a turn 1 Tapu Lele. That is ridiculous. Glaceon could be overhyped, but it could literally wreck the format and absolutely destroy a whole bunch of decks. For that reason, it's in at number 2. But as much as I love the cards I put at 2, 3, and 4, as far as I'm concerned, there is only one good choice for first. It's Cynthia. And I don't think it's controversial, and I don't think there's much argument. Cynthia is the best card in Ultra Prism. It's just amazing. When the rotation hits, we're probably going to lose Professor Sycamore. And we're probably going to lose N. When that happens, this will be a 4 of in every single deck. And when you've got a card which is destined to be a 4 of in every single deck, how can you not call it the best card in that particular set? Even before rotation, it's going to be played incredibly widely. And let's face it, when Professor Oak's new theory was legal, it was played in basically every deck. The one of the few that didn't play it were Luxray decks, and wouldn't you know it, Worlds was won by a very unusual list that did play it. This is an over-the-top good card that will be an absolute staple in every deck, and I'm sorry if that's a little bit less exciting than some of the cards on the list. It's not the flashiest card in the set, but I really do believe incredibly strongly that it is the best card. So there we go. As always, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and as with all my top 10 lists, I want a top 10 from you guys, 1 to 10, all the way through. Let me know. I'm excited to see. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWossy, Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio, and over at Wossy Plays for some video game related action. If you want more PTCG Radio, some bonus pods, and you want to support the channel, then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.